Stephen,
Andrew.
do you fancy spending a quiet night inside number 9?
Of course.
This week we are heading back into lip service. So this is our next time into The Onion after our initial reaction episode, just minutes after it first aired. So we're going to take a slightly slower, deeper take at it this time.
Just going to say things more slowly.
Yeah. How did you feel going back and watching it without the pressure of and the trauma of having to do a podcast
trauma.
about
I love that it's become a trauma.
It's for me.
And that in 6 months' time, you'll be suffering, waking up in the middle of the night in cold sweats, just shouting. I thought it was one of my favourites so far when I saw it then, and I think I do now as well. I think it's realising that it was the first one of the series that wasn't quite meta and self-referential and actually a bit more just straight up story.
Mm-hmm.
It was quite interesting.
That's true. And I suppose as we've talked about before, like a lot of this series is quite meta. There's a lot of that sort of looking at the industry stuff, and this one isn't. And I think I've enjoyed getting into some of the theories or like kind of surmising what is going on and who's what and what. Yeah, like I find that quite fun.
Yeah, it's been interesting to see them kind of dip their toes a bit more into things like, I mean, this is like a political thriller, sort of the new Cold War-ish kind of thing that we have going on. At the moment, and then combining that with their trip right into things with Last Night at the Proms, they kind of started branching out into some other areas of society that they hadn't really touched on before.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, and I suppose this one became, although there was the kind of underlying political element of it. Was this when they did the Inside Number 9 podcast? Was it when they interviewed John Plowman on this one? Can you remember?
Oh yeah, I think it was.
Yeah. And they were talking about it kind of being like a rom-com.
Yeah.
And that whole kind of change of feel, and I mean, it's not a change of feel per se, because the whole thing has a very like melancholic feel to it throughout. But there's a sense of the rom-com about it when you're wondering, okay, where's this going? You know, this kind of slightly quirky, very quirky relationship.
This sort of burgeoning relationship with an unlikely pair.
Yeah, being founded on a extremely strange, kind of context, like how they met and everything like that. But then by the end of it, no, it's a pretty straight up political thriller. Conspiracy thriller that has that, when you then go back and watch the whole thing again, has that throughout the entirety of it.
I mean, you say straight up, but this was a pretty twisty turny one in terms of it throwing you in particular ways.
Yeah, I mean straight up just in terms of like
what the overall narrative was.
Yeah, and I guess a lot of political thrillers are full of twists as well, aren't they? Like those kinds of crimey political drama thriller things have the old, is that person who they say they are? Is that what's going to be the sort of twist here? What are they, whose side are they on? And that kind of thing. I'm still trying to work all that out with this. Like in terms of Iris, her job, who she's working for, or who she's working with in terms of Dmitri Novak. Like, is she involved in the security operation around him? Because it's not kind of sided in that respect of, as far as I'm trying to work it out. Like, because it's a police. It would be a police operation protecting, like a kind of protective element around this guy who is a bit of a dissident and whatnot, being protected by the state, because in a democracy, that's, I suppose, what happens.
That's not how I saw it, though, because I very much feel like she's working for British government in some capacity.
Mm-hmm.
He's an agitator about to go live with something that they don't want out there. There's no protection going on from necessarily from what she's in command of. She's part of the plot to set up Felix to make it look as though Felix has shot him in order to protect whichever forces in British government wanted him dead.
Mm-hmm.
That's how I'm reading it.
Yeah. No, I think that's right. But it's how that is implemented in terms of the death of Felix, like from the security operation that then ensures that, or the story around the security operation that they can deliver.
Yes.
Obviously.
Okay.
It's kind of, I think it's a very high level operation.
It's an assassination plot with a cover-up story that's kind of built in.
Yeah.
They saw an opportunity with Felix of someone that they could frame for this.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a crazy, spurned ex-lover.
Exactly.
Whilst they got to go about their business.
Yeah. And this has been a long time in the making. Whether that 3 years in the making is whatever it is that Novak's doing, or whether it's this whole... Like, it sounds like Novak has been a bit of a thorn in the side of certain elements of government for a little while. Like, he's a lawyer, he's an agitator, he's that figure who needs getting rid
human
of.
rights.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so they've been sort of, and it's obviously quite a convoluted way of getting rid of him through Felix via Brenda. Like, I guess the suggestion is there that Brenda was headhunted quite early on after going into her sort of press job when she went back to work. So it's like, well, what was that about? Like,
when Iris mentions about the press secretary role and saying that you have to flirt with people in order to coerce them to do things, she almost looks at the end as though she is playing the part of a press secretary.
I know. That was another thing I'm trying to work out.
Was just her reflecting a little bit on the coercive things that she has to pull off. But then she seems to be quite deep in terms of plotting a cover-up for a political assassination for just a press secretary.
Just a press secretary. Yeah, that's exactly. It's kind of like, what is her role? Because she's there, yeah, she's got the earpiece in and stuff. So it looks like a security job, but equally the fact she's so visible there, like you know, on that screen at the end, you can see who she is perfectly. The sort of person that Felix might have gone, haven't I seen you stood around in the back of press conferences? Yeah.
Sometimes.
But then he doesn't actually watch TV as much as he says it's the TV that's making the noise. I don't think he ever actually watches the TV.
The gentleman next door said he could hear sounds of distress. Oh, that was probably the television.
Yeah, I really enjoyed going back and watching this again. And I think there was a lot of little details that I hadn't picked up on. A lot of obvious details like lens flare that I had.
Oh, did you see it this time?
Yeah.
Staring you in the face.
Quite obvious, really, isn't it?
It was massively so. How has he missed this? What?
I think because it was so obvious, I almost just looked
through it,
beyond it. Yeah, exactly.
Did you have an inkling as to why it's there?
No.
Was it a thought I had as I saw it come up again was it someone almost looking through a peephole at them? Almost that kind of effect, where it was almost a bit kind of fisheye as well.
Yeah.
But obviously the adjoining door between hotel rooms would not have a peephole. No. Because that would be a problem.
It's a
problematic. I think
the hotel itself is, you wouldn't be surprised if there are peepholes.
I don't think that Mueller would have that.
I don't think he's. I think he. I mean, we'll get into. Maybe we could get into talking about Mueller now, but in terms of the lens flare, part of me was thinking, is it?
Is he watching them?
I don't think he. No, I don't think that wasn't what I thought. But there's obviously the reflection back because there's the window. I guess it would be the adjoining room to the suite that Novak and Brenda are in, where there's almost the same thing happening back because obviously there's a gun that's going to kill Felix. So whether it's just an allusion to that, I mean, I think we talked about in the reaction episode the kind of use of lens flare as a way to highlight something being real and being I guess truthful or just present. But I'm not sure. I can't work out how that necessarily.
There are some interesting shot choices. Right at the beginning when Felix walks into the hotel room and sits down on the bed, and that's all being done with a mirror.
Yeah, there's a few mirrors through the episode. Yeah.
Yeah. Should we go Mueller?
Let's go Mueller.
Who's brilliant.
Yeah. And
doesn't really... I like that he's a peripheral character that doesn't really... He is a bit of a pawn in their game, really, isn't he? Because there's someone in that other room that keeps reporting what's going on in Felix's room to try and build up that sense of Felix being a crazed loner who's causing all sorts of hassle up there, throwing things around, shouting, just trying to build up that picture so that at the end, Mueller is able to say, well, I had reports of this going on. He'd been drinking, which is never a good sign.
Never a good sign. Yeah. And I think the fact that he is, I mean, it's a slightly potentially offensive character to certain people, but like the fact he's so ruthless and clinical in his search, which kind of, I guess, conjures images of like the Nazis searching for like Jewish people.
That's true, yeah.
Everything else in order. You don't need any more coat hangers?
No? Fine, thanks.
Excellent. I just need to check your toilet roll situation.
Yeah, I was going to mention it seems to have locked itself for some reason.
From the inside?
Yeah. Oh. That's all right. I can always go in the kettle.
No need. I have the key of a skeleton for such emergencies.
But then the fact that obviously he kind of, as far as he's concerned, is sweeping through this room with a fine tooth comb, has the key of the skeleton to get into.
He's like a cross between Basil Fawlty and what's the name of the guy in the Tarantino film, Inglourious Bastards? Mm-hmm. That character.
Yeah.
He's like, cross between Basil Fawlty and him.
Yes.
The Jew hunter. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And that then adds to the fact that Felix is, as far as Mueller would be concerned, Felix was definitely alone in that room, because if he wasn't, he would have known about that. He would have found the person.
And he clearly, there's the scene with the shower curtain that we lose all tension because we see her duck out of the room. Yet the tension thing is kept up from the point of view of, I think Muller's a bit theatrical with these things as well. And it's all kept up with him inching towards and then drawing it back. And we know no one's going to be there. Really we know that full well. But they still play it. Yeah. They still do all that because that's what he wants to do.
That's a really good point.
And yet, what I really like, and they spoke about it on the Inside Number 9 podcast about this being essentially just a German Basil Fawlty who doesn't seem to really enjoy running a hotel, but likes to make life difficult for the people that stay there. And this could be a very dark, brutal episode of Fawlty Towers where he is running around. We'd be seeing it from his point of view, of him shouting about there being a girl in that room, and he knows he's got a girl in that room, and he's going to get him out, and we're going to set off a fire alarm to get him, and we're going to make sure they're all brought outside. This is the episode of Fawlty Towers where Basil is convinced that there is a girl in the room.
Yeah, that's so true. Yeah, I do wonder whether Muller as well does have a caring side to him, and I get hints from the relationship between Muller and Felix that there's a sense of like it's not just spying, it's caring. But he just doesn't know how to do
He'll send one of the guest experience team or whatever.
Yeah, and he keeps coming and checking on him, and his look when he does go in and find he's been shot is a kind of like, oh, like I don't know, has he failed or? And one of the interesting questions from Iris is when she asks Felix, "Why do you think he's so suspicious of you?" And maybe he just gets kicks out of spying on you. And
Mr. Muller seems like quite a character. Why is he so suspicious of you, do you think? You seem pretty normal looking to me.
Oh, I don't know. I think he's just uptight. You get the impression he'd rather run a hotel without any guests in it.
Yeah, like a bus driver who hates having to pick up the passengers.
Yeah.
But I thought that was an interesting question for her to ask. Why do you think he's so suspicious of you? What's the backstory in terms of what have they seeded? Obviously, there's the element of people men bringing kind of sex workers up to the room and kind of paying the day rate and whatnot. And yeah, whether because Muller talks about that being a fair, this has been happening recently, so I'm trying to clamp down on it. So it's like, well, what's the seeding of that in terms of Iris and that operation? Has that been a part of that whole plan?
I don't know how deep these things go.
Exactly, yeah. And
I imagine it's really, really... Although, I mean, it's... How much of... Because if it is a watertight operation, how much of what happens and sort of unfolds through the episodes is designed to happen when Brenda calls Felix and they have that phone call, and then it's revealed that they're actually divorced, although I guess they knew all that already, didn't they? All that stuff was already known. Him stumbling across stuff in her bag, because if that wasn't intended, that was pretty loose.
Sloppy, yeah.
Pretty sloppy from her in terms of leaving unencrypted USB keys around.
Yeah.
Finding the notification from Dad's net, all those kind of things. He brought up Dad's net. She said she didn't know what it was. I don't know how much of that was sort of leading him through stuff. He obviously didn't need to find those things for her to kind of strike up a kind of romance if she'd wanted to.
No.
It helped.
I think that exactly. It was almost like, well, and that's what's interesting on the Inside Number 9 podcast is that they talk about that bit as her kind of having to improvise her way through him having discovered all of that. Which I always find it, fascinating to think how much of what they're saying is actually true to what they intended, or are they just sort of saying stuff?
Or to what extent are they just wrong? They're wrong about their own work.
Well, it seems like it would make sense for her to have that found out. And I was thinking, okay, if she is that level of, secret service, security, whatever, she's not going to have a USB drive with his initials on and get a notification from Dad's chat, whatever. And
what is Dad's chat? Dad chat. It's like
Mum's
Mum's Net, but with sad men rather than competitive women.
Yeah. Love it. Yeah. And, I was thinking, has that USB, him putting that into his computer, then downloaded a load of more incriminating stuff that could be used?
Very possibly, yeah. That would make a lot of sense.
Part of the... And like, why is she in the toilet? Why does she go to the bath? Like, she knows she's not going to be in that room for very long. She should have probably gone for her wee before going, because you're obviously just going to leave evidence, potentially.
Just wait until you say you want a break from this podcast, go to the loo in a minute, and I'll say, no, we don't have to be here for that long, mate.
Yeah, so...
Should have gone before.
And it's that moment where she is in the toilet that the notification comes through.
Well, she gives him the opportunity, and it's almost like she's built that opportunity in. And I agree, it's strange to consider the idea that she is as high level as she is, and yet she's having to sort of improvise and bumble her way through a situation she's put herself in really, really carelessly.
Yeah. Because
she seems quite methodical and quite clear on what her aims are and what she's doing to get there.
Yeah, exactly. And once the shots are fired, she's completely clinical in that.
Now.
Yeah, exactly. And I was wondering about her lip read, whether she can lip read, or whether she's just got an earpiece in and they've got the room bugged, or something's going on, and like it's all just actually through her ear. Because there's a moment which is really ambiguous when they're talking about love, and she says she's quite happy, being on her own or whatever, and then she's kind of caught in a bit of a daze sort of thing, and then says, sorry, what? And then Felix says, I didn't say anything. And that could be she's heard someone's made a comment about, you're not on your own, or like, that's not what you were saying last night or whatever. and she's, I don't know, caught in some sort of
That's a really good point. Yeah, she's almost caught between the two scenarios.
Yeah.
Can I ask, are you married, Iris?
Me? No. I'm self-partnered, as they say. Single as a dollar and not looking for change.
And are you happy with that?
Oh, yeah. I'm fine, really cool with it. Don't miss men at all. Not at all. Really happy. Sorry, what?
I didn't say anything.
The fact that it doesn't matter when the binoculars are broken. You lose your right lens, it's cracked. Oh, it's fine. Or carry on.
I hadn't even thought of that. Yeah.
Just going to carry on with a broken piece of equipment for something that is supposedly so detailed. And she said at one point, it was right at the beginning, when she's next to her lip reader, she's not 100% accurate. She may see things that her doing other things with her lips, but all that will come out in your report at the end. But Felix is going to take notes.
Mm.
So how's she remembering is she just remembering all this that she says and what she sees, and then we'll be typing up later as a report? Who's she dictating that to? Felix. Well, Felix is going to be getting his report, and if you're not going to tell him everything, so it is a bit iffy.
Yeah, because I mean, for a while I was thinking, is this like, can she even? Is she just making up the entire thing?
Well, she does say to him later on, doesn't she? When, even though it's part of an act, she says, I'm sorry for making out that she was seeing things that she wasn't.
Yeah.
And so that could be still something true.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. So I suppose the only bit that's definitely real is the phone call, because obviously he can hear that, and she's like kind of calling out what's being said in real time there as well. So yeah,
if the room's bugged, then that makes sense anyway.
Yeah, and then she can just add in little mishearings, like the
you deserve a penis,
borderline arse mount.
I really, really like that scene. That bit. I really, really enjoyed it, being able to hear both sides. Even the episode narrative aside, just the idea of the lip reader reading out the other end of the conversation that we can't see, I thought was really clever.
Yeah, really smart. They must have felt like, yes, like when coming up with that as a concept, must have felt pretty good. You're on to something there. Yeah, and I suppose the mishearing or the misreading of she's going to call Max, and then that sort of seeds an insight into Felix's obsession, because when he says she doesn't know anyone called Max, it's like, okay, either you I don't know, you've got some belief about that, you know who she knows, or you literally do know every single person that she knows because you've like tapped into her diary and all of her contacts, and you listened into all of her conversations.
Knowing what we know at the end about him basically following her and stalking her, makes little lines like, yes, she was wearing that this morning, quite sinister as well. It's like, you were outside the house, weren't you? Keeping an eye. And knowing well, I guess he would know what Dmitri Novak looked like if he was quite a high profile, one of these irritating human rights lawyers.
Yeah. And I wonder how, like, because I was thinking about the kind of seeding of what's gone on Dad Chat, and how long that's gone on for. And because, I mean, even the whole scenario itself, how has it been manufactured so that, I suppose to some degree, it would be Felix booking the room, realizing, okay, this is where I'm going to do the lip reading thing from. But also that is probably needing to be seeded and set up by those carrying out the assassination thing. So how much of that is being put into Felix's mind, almost making him believe that he's directing something that actually he's being directed to do?
This is the thing, there's a little underlying commentary there of what these message boards can do to people when they do, and how susceptible you are when you go to an online forum like that with a problem, where your problem is that your wife, when he started, maybe his wife is thinking of leaving him, and eventually the marriage unravels and it's all playing out on Dad Chat, and all it takes is for someone to say, have you considered doing this? That kind of okays his worst impulses, which are to stalk her, track down whoever she's spending her time with. And that's what made him such an easy target. And that's what they knew. They knew that all they had to do was this entire thing could have been set up by trawling Dad Chat.
Yeah.
By simply finding their mark, by spotting the first desperate, spurned lover on Dad Chat, going, right, he's our man. He fits our profile of what we need. What does his wife do? Perfect. Press.
Yeah. I suppose it could be.
That could be the seed, the breeding ground for it.
There could be any entry points, couldn't there? Really, because it depends. Yeah, does it go back as far as like the point at which she enters the workforce, and then they think, like, are they aware of Felix in some other capacity as like, yeah, he's maybe way out of his league with with Brenda. Therefore, we can plant some seeds of paranoia in him and essentially create the scenario that he's afraid of happening. So, just even getting her into a job where she's going to be traveling a lot. She's going to be working very closely with a high-profile, very attractive man.
And we can see from his internet browsing history that that's the sort of thing that really worries him.
Yeah.
He's an insecure man. He's worried about his wife leaving him. So let's make that happen. Terrifying. Yeah. I have no doubt that sort of thing could quite easily be happening on a daily basis.
Oh, you could easily sort of profile people based on certain things like that, I imagine. Yeah. If you have the means and the desire and the, you know, people that you want to get rid of.
Breakfast menu. I noticed earlier you didn't have one. I'm just going to pop this on the console for you. We offer full English at $31.99 plus a £7 trade charge if you prefer in-room dining.
Yes, that sounds very reasonable.
Yeah, and so back to Muller, because I just really do love Muller. I do genuinely think he's like bringing the breakfast menu. I think there's an element of, I'm going to stick with the fact that I think he's just a really caring man who's not really.
He's very proud of his hotel.
Yeah,
he doesn't want anyone eating Lotus biscuits.
They're out of date.
It's. I think I said when it first aired, it was interesting seeing Reese taking on the German accent this time and not Steve.
Yeah,
there was a little slip into. I felt a little bit of French at one point when he was speaking about men booking rooms on a day rate.
Okay, thank you. We have had issues recently with the gentlemen, sometimes ladies, wishing to book a room on a day rate. If you take my meanings, it's something we are very keen to stamp out. I'm sure we understand each other, Mr.
Hughes.
That's a French accent, Reese. That's
a little
right.
Yeah, and it's 3:15. Is that?
Drei 15.
Yeah, the fire alarm was due at 3:15. Adds up to 9.
It does. Good point. As does the room number 612.
Yeah. So this is the first time
we're not in the 9.
Outside number 9. Yeah. Yeah.
I'd like a sister episode to this. Where we do see what's going on inside number 9. What were they looking at? What was the plot?
That would be nice, yeah. Tell us what the hell's going on here? Well, like, what is going on here? Yeah.
I have the key of the skeleton for such emergencies. That was one of my favourite lines first time round, and it's definitely one of my favourite this time as well.
Like, coupled with the fact that it's after Felix says I can just use the kettle to pee in. Like, don't worry. And he's like, that will not be necessary. As if like, yeah, I know you could do that, but you won't. Don't worry, you won't have to because I've got the key of the skeleton. So
the key of the skeleton. I do love things phrased like that. I don't know why. It just tickles me.
It's nice. And did you notice that Felix did try the correct switch for the bathroom light?
Oh, but it just didn't work.
It turned on something else.
Yeah, it turned on the one behind him.
Yeah, and then that's because, and then Muller like, it's this
fine.
one.
Yeah,
and he's like, I thought I tried that one.
He did. He tried all of them.
He had tried it. Yeah. It switched on something.
I mean, I'd say it was dodgy wiring, but that's just mental wiring directions that are on some kind of weird split.
Just like, it will be this light this time, and who knows what it will be.
Lottery lights.
I mean, it may well be an assassination gunshot next time.
It might be. That'd be. All I wanted to do was switch the bathroom light on.
Is it hot in here? Shall I open a window? Is there a minibar I could do with a drink?
Iris plays quite the selection of characters.
She does.
And it's superb.
Yeah.
She's great acting within great acting.
Yeah.
Not bad acting inside good acting. This time it's just good in good.
There is no bad acting. Yeah.
No good bad acting.
No good bad acting. And no bad good acting. Just good acting. Yeah.
You know what we mean.
She plays it. And I was kind of watching it, wondering, and Joe had asked about whether there's in the bits where she's talking about love and the lack of love and the fact that, you know, she's coupled, like self-partnered or whatever. There's a couple of there's two main scenes where that happens, and she gives a look where it seems like there is a hint of truth in what she's saying, rather than just her playing the role of Iris in that moment.
No, I know what you mean.
And whether there is you see the human within this. I guess it's quite a robotic role, isn't it? It's quite.
Definitely, she has to be. It's very detached.
Yeah, and whether there's just a little bit of longing in there, probably not for Felix.
No, I imagine it's quite a difficult life being an international super spy. Although a really rubbish one because you're on TV, stood behind politicians. Her work must make it quite difficult for her to find someone and stick around with them. Yeah.
Which is why I wondered about that. Sorry, what?
Yeah.
Who's in her ear? What's he just said?
It's not what you said last night.
Yeah, and I wondered about whether there was also a sort of a secondary meaning within that kind of the self-partnered thing, whether like professionally or politically.
She works alone.
Yeah, there's a kind of, I don't really have an allegiance. I have an allegiance maybe to the security of the nation state or to the job that I'm doing.
Just to justice.
Yeah.
I'm self-partnered with justice.
Yeah. Yeah, and whether there was a kind of deeper meaning there. I don't know.
Because her initial character is sort of a, like you said before, quirky rom-com character who's a bit awkward. She's a bit of a loner on the basis that she does this rather strange job of peering into other people's existences and prying into their secret conversations. And that's what's setting it all up for quite a light-hearted little rom-com thing. Yeah. That kind of, that role in life that you never spend any time thinking about or considering, that as even a job or something that people do. And then, which I suppose is what Inside Number 9 does so often, is bring something from the fringes of life to the central focus and says, yeah, this happens. Hopefully some things happen less than other things, but I hope, just thinking back through the series at this point. I was just thinking about Riddle of the Sphinx there. Yeah. Just found myself thinking about Riddle of the Sphinx. She's very good at hiding, isn't she? I guess she hides a lot in her work. Yeah. She's all about the hiding. I think that's a real moment when you look back, like the way that she gets out of that bathroom. Is she's done this before. Yeah, she knows what she's doing here. She's escaped Nazi hotel owners before. She has, very much so. It's funny you sort of talk about hiding. Like I thought the colour scheme, the green and the brown, like the very camouflage colour motif, that even when when Felix first enters, he's wearing like a green jacket. He's got a kind of greeny shirt. It's almost like he's coming into the bird hide, like ready to, he's there with his binoculars, ready to start doing his bird watching from a. I say doing his business, not in the hotel room. No. Yeah, I do like that. The line about he'll be gone in half an hour, and then you can clean up all my bodily fluids. Yeah. Is that the same bit with the trouser press? Yeah. Yeah. If we don't have trouser, we are hoping to roll them out. Get a 4-star. Yeah. Irregardless. That's not a word. It is a word. And it is a word. It is. It's a weird word. It's a pointless word because it means exactly the same as regardless. But. Yeah. I don't really understand, but no, it is a word. I love those little exchanges.
Raised voices, items being thrown against the walls.
Yeah, I couldn't work the trouser press and I got frustrated.
We don't have the trouser press, although we are hoping to roll them out in a bid to win a 4th star.
4 stars? You're joking, aren't you? Been in bush shelters more comfortable than this.
Well, irregardless.
That's not a word.
It is actually irregardless. The gentleman next door would appreciate if you could keep the noise down. He has made several complaints already.
Yeah, well, I'll be gone in half an hour, so it'll be quiet then. And you can clean up all the bodily fluids I've been spraying everywhere.
Wait, what?
Are we saying that this one is going to be a definite star of a run back through, because we're even still now struggling a little with certain aspects of it.
I think so. I think there's a lot.
Is it one of those?
There's a lot of.
This is an onion fest.
Theorizing that could be done around this one. Yeah, and even if it's not intended by Stephen Rees in the writing itself, I think because of the nature of the episode, there's a lot of potential
and ambiguity in there as well.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and I part of me really almost has a need to like put the pieces together in a way that feels like it makes sense, because it's a more real episode. Like, these are real characters. This is a more real situation than perhaps other episodes. So it's got to have some kind of coherence to it. So, like, yeah, I'm kind of grasping for that. Obviously, Muller is, as a character, he's more extreme. He's more of a caricature than the others.
Yes.
But yeah, I think it's one of those episodes that kind of needs to make sense. If that makes sense.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I think it's because it's kind of a genre that is full of twists and turns as it is, that it's not like it's superimposing that upon a kind of style of film that doesn't usually have those sorts of things going on. And so you're right, that because the very nature of conspiracies and world governments secretively taking people out means that in itself has got a big, nice, long, dangling thread to start pulling at.
Yeah, definitely. The only other thing that like really stands out is the music that's worth kind of talking about, especially after last week when, you know, kind of exploring what Christian Henson had said on the Inside Number 9 podcast, like what the music is doing, what the music is feeding in terms of, is it the place? Is it what we're supposed to feel about the place? Is it something in the mind of one of the characters? And I don't know how you felt, but like it feels, I suppose it does feel kind of situational, but it also feels like the life of Felix.
It's definitely Felix's music.
Melancholic, really lonely. But then, and I think what's so clever about the music in this episode is the fact that it feels like sparse and lonely. But then those moments of connection between him and Iris, there's something just gently shifts in it.
I did wonder that.
Yeah.
I was wondering if I'd imagined it.
And maybe it doesn't. Maybe it's how it sits within the story, but it just feels like that music suddenly has a slightly more connected or integrated feel to it.
I wish you all the best for getting her back. Goodbye, Felix.
Iris. Hang on.
I think that it feels like it's the same thing, like Felix's theme. There's just this little leitmotif that keeps coming back. And it is when he's feeling sorry for himself, mainly. It mainly comes in those parts when he first comes into the room, he sits down on the bed, you see him in the mirror. It's when he's talking about what's gone on with his wife. It kind of springs back up there. And it's just this thing, it's what he's feeling about himself, I think, more than anything. Because his situation it stops being sad when you think about what's going on. It's sad to him.
Yeah.
But for anyone else looking at it, it's pretty creepy. It's that, and it's not creepy music, it's sad music. So you're right. It's what the character's feeling about the situation he's in. And we don't get, there's no Pink Panther music playing or any sort of spy music going on to give us a that's
That'll be
not
a completely different episode.
You're right. We're not given any clues in the music. It's just Felix's music and how Felix is feeling.
That's a really good point. I think it's encapsulated with when he says, "I was happy," almost like the music represents a stuckness, and I suppose him feeling sorry for himself is this moment at which he got stuck. And whether the music changes or whether you just sense some kind of change, it's that sort of sense of hope or sense of, oh, actually I can find someone else, or someone else is right here who is offering some way of redeeming myself or moving myself out of this stuckness where everything's on loop. And I suppose it is a looped motif in the music as well. And it's like everything's just going round and round in circles. And actually, I might be able to break this with Iris. And I wonder whether within the lighting and stuff, it'd be interesting to see it again. Just thinking about that.
Yeah, actually, you're right. The moment that the lens flare kicks in is when they start to have a bit of a close moment, isn't it? And maybe that's almost like a sunrise, new day, new sun sort of glaring down on you. There was something about that particular moment, and I don't think it was just that they were having a hard time filming with a bunch of mirrors in the room and the light coming in through the window. I don't think it's as obvious as that. I think that would be careless from the director of photography's point of view.
I would agree. Yeah, no, that's a good point. And it's not the direct sunlight. It's a reflection or a kind of through the lens, through the almost the voyeuristic return of this, it's kind of bouncing around. It's not there to be grasped firsthand, but there is that hope that is there, that is obviously ultimately not there. But
I mean, now you've just said that word voyeuristic. There's a lot of that in this episode. This episode is entirely about voyeurism and trying to catch people doing things.
Yeah. I suppose that's Muller's role, isn't it?
That's Muller's role as well. Muller's trying to catch him doing something while he's trying to catch his wife doing something.
The guy in the next room keeps reporting the noise that's coming from Felix.
And it turns out that at the end, Felix is caught doing something that he wasn't actually doing.
Yeah. The only person who isn't guilty is the person who's found guilty. Who's not guilty of doing the thing. Yeah.
I mean, he's doing something, but definitely not the thing that he's doing the watching.
No, I mean, it's not okay. It doesn't give him a free pass. He's not doing the thing that he's caught doing.
No.
Weirdly. He's been caught doing something that he didn't do.
Exactly. With a hairdryer.
Which is a weird moment when she throws him the hairdryer.
He just catches it and holds it. You know?
Yeah, but
no
just
question.
Yeah.
Brenda!
Yeah. Her look, it's a really haunting, when the first shot goes off and she peers up at him as if yes, this is happening. There's almost a
good.
Yeah, it's a sense of is it right? The plan's underway, right? That we've got
the game's afoot.
We've got to get this right, or is it a kind of which I imagine you must need a slight amount of it to do a job like that, which is the adrenaline is running, and I'm getting a real buzz from this moment. And when she looks up, I can't describe the look, but it's you see it as the viewer, and you're thinking that's jarring. That is not the response that she's supposed to have if she's
supposed to be this nervous
Hello, it's all happening. And then that sort of precedes the now. What?
Yeah.
Ow. That really hurts.
Ow.
It's a good shot. Really good shot.
After she'd got the window open.
Yeah.
To allow that. It was well choreographed.
Very well choreographed. Yeah. Good episode.
It is. It's a cracker.
Yeah. Have you got anything else to
No, I don't think so.
talk about in this one?
No.
I think this will be a good one to get people's theories through on.
Yeah, send us things, please.
Yeah, please do. And we will talk about them in our traditional wrap-up episode at the end of...
It's definitely traditional at this point.
It is now, yeah, at the end of this series. Please do email us a quietnightinside09@gmail.com or get in touch via Twitter at AQNIN9.
Perfect.
Great.
You've nailed that now.
Cheers, man. It's only taken 60 episodes?
It's something ridiculous like that. Well, I wish you a week full of a penis.
Thank you.
And
you deserve a penis.
Thanks, mate. And so do all of you at home. Bye-bye.
See ya. Bye-bye.
Let's be very clear. Any conspiracy theories linking this government to Mr. Novak's death are quite frankly preposterous. Thank you.